Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Chernobyl reaction video. So today I'm going to be watching, reviewing, and reacting to episode 3 of Chernobyl. Before I get into anything, just a quick thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon for everything you continue to do, for helping me both financially and personally so that I can continue to make these videos. And if you're someone that's interested in supporting me on Patreon, I'll leave a link in the description below. There is an option to get full-length reactions to Chernobyl if that's something you'd be interested in. If not, no big deal, but just wanted to put it out there that that is something that's available. And so quickly, before we start episode 3, I think I saw some comments that stood out to me, and one person in particular had said that they noticed that I tended to focus in my discussion and my reaction on a lot of the negative things that are happening, which I mean I think is kind of difficult not to do, but a lot of my focus has been on criticizing certain policies and actions, and they said that I didn't really draw a ton of attention to the heroism of certain characters. And I think that's a valid critique of a lot of what I have been saying. There certainly have been some characters so far that have displayed levels of heroism and bravery that are extremely significant and worth, worth calling attention to and praising. Especially, in particular, the 3 men at the very end of the last episode who had chosen to go down into that water, really understanding that they certainly were going to die as a consequence of doing so, but that they'd be giving up their lives in the pursuit of something that could potentially save millions of other lives. And that's something that you can't even imagine putting yourself in the mindset of having to make that choice. And in that moment, they were willing to do so. And I do think that that's something that should be respected. Then you have like smaller acts, I suppose. I don't want to call anything smaller because people do what they're able to do in the moment depending on the position that they have, but even down to the nurses and doctors that we saw who were treating the people that were on site, whether it was the firefighters or the people who were standing on the bridge and getting some of the ash and fumes all over them. And they were exposing themselves to intensive radiation. They were almost certainly going to suffer severe consequences. We saw after they were carrying down all of those extremely radioactive clothes off the firefighters that, her hand was already starting to be severely impacted. So this is something that they do, and considering they're in the medical field, they might not have a full understanding of what was going to happen to them, but they certainly would have understood that coming into contact with these individuals, if they'd been irradiated, was going to have a negative consequence on them and their health, and they continue to do so anyway because that's who they are, that's what they do, is they make their lives about helping other people. But I think one of the issues that I have had, and this goes even to characters like Legasov, who went there and then stayed there understanding what would happen to him. He said, we'll be dead in 5 years, to Gerbina, who wasn't aware at the time, but again also continued to stay even knowing that. I think one of the issues that I have, and why it seems more tragic than heroic, even though those two things can clearly come together, is that a lot of the people who are doing these acts without a full understanding of the choices they were making, without a full understanding of the consequences, and then others who did have some full understanding of the consequences were partially doing it because they made a choice, but partially it seems as though they were doing it because in their minds there actually wasn't any other choice. And I don't mean in the sense that, well, if it's my life versus millions of others, there's no choice to make. Obviously, I need to sacrifice myself. I don't mean like that. I mean in the sense that they've lived their entire lives under an authoritarian regime, and when you're told to do something by someone who's considered a superior, it's not even viewed as though you have an option. It's just what you do, and you accept it. So you have Legasov and Sherbina who are choosing to continue to remain there, knowing that their time there is going to eventually lead to their untimely deaths. But are they really making a choice? Technically, yes, they are, but do they, in their minds, view it as a choice that they have? It doesn't seem to me that they do, because they've been told, you're going to be there, you're going to deal with this problem. And so when you had Sherbina giving his speech at the end to the workers and trying to inspire some of them to willingly go down there, he wasn't begging in any sort of way. He was saying, you will do it, because that is what you do, that is what our people have done. You will make your peace with it as I have tried to make my peace with it. And if you listen to that, there's a sense of, well, there never really was an option. I didn't have the choice, even once I found out the potential consequences. I didn't really have a choice to say, all right, well, I'll continue to lead this, monitor it, but not from right next to the site. I'm going to go away. That wasn't actually necessarily an option for him. At least that's what it seems to me. And I think, again, I have a hard time with this because I don't want to detract from the fact that they were going out of their way to try to help people and putting their lives on the line in doing so. I don't want to detract from those actions because obviously it's a tremendous sacrifice that they're making, a huge deal. But at the same time, I find it extremely tragic, and I think it's important to point out that people in this situation are going in without really having a lot of options at all available to them. And that's one of the things that continues to impact me as I watch this, the feeling of being stuck, of being trapped, of having to go through this because that's what you've been raised to always believe that you have to do, is obey orders, obey the system. That's part of what you do. And I mean, I'll be curious to see going forward if there's any indication that that is less the case than I thought, that there are other options available, if people are able to, say, walk away when they find out what they're actually, being asked to do. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of having a difficult time with this in my head because I don't want to take away from anyone's sacrifice or act as though they weren't heroic. But I do think that there's a difference, not just in degree, but in actual action between what, say, those three men were doing when they were going in with a full understanding that they were going to die, and say what, like, Sherbina was doing, or say, for instance, like what you have the firefighters doing, going to the scene without any actual understanding of what they were getting themselves into. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think.
What did I tell you? There's no hiding from you, is there? Huh? Easy. It's okay. We're all okay. Yeah.
No listening. I mean, I get it. It's your husband. And he doesn't look terrible, but, they told you that for a reason. Maybe they should have been more specific with her. I don't know, but then maybe then it wouldn't have mattered anyway, right? If it's somebody that you, like a family member, someone that you love. He has a point about the arbitrary decision making, though, by people who are uninformed. And we saw that last episode too, I prefer my opinion to yours.
exposed. Ionizing radiation tears the cellular structure apart. Skin blisters, turns red then black. This is followed by a latency period. The immediate effects subside. The patient appears to be recovering.
That's what was happening when she went there.
This usually only lasts for a day or two. Continue. Then cellular damage begins to manifest. The bone marrow dies. The immune system fails. The organs and soft tissue begin to decompose. The arteries and veins spill open like sieves, to the point where you can't even administer morphine for the pain, which is
Oh my god.
unimaginable. And then 3 days to 3 weeks, you're dead. That is what will happen to those boys.
If that is definitively gonna happen,
And what about us?
why not? You should let them know and give them the chance to end it faster.
Well, we've gotten a steady dose, but not as much of it.
Cancer?
Not strong enough to kill the cells, but consistent enough to damage our DNA. So, in time, cancer, or aplastic anemia, either way, fatal.
Well, in a sense, it would seem we've got enough easier then. Harry.
Comparing to, yeah.
I've worked the numbers over and over, presuming the worst possible conditions in an RBMK reactor. And I always get the same answer.
Which is,
It's not possible.
and yet,
And yet,
you're not going to solve
it
this,
did
are you?
happen.
Not on paper. Everyone who was in the control room, Dyatlov, Akimov, Dr. Nov, they're all in Moscow. Hospital number 6. We need to find out exactly what happened that night. Moment by moment. Decision by decision. Go now while they're still alive. Talk to them. Because if we don't find out how this happened, it will happen again. And Omyuk, be careful.
To have to try to find out how something that shouldn't be possible to happen happened. I don't feel like Dyatlov is going to be particularly hopeful.
Here's my own one. Just as big as a house. Burns 20 meters of fuel every hour. Puts out a shitload of smoke and noise. And cuts an apple into 3 pieces. A Soviet machine made to cut apples into 4 pieces!
Oh my god.
I need all 100 men to gather their equipment and get on the trucks.
Do you? To where?
That's classified.
Come on then. Start shooting. You haven't got enough bullets for all of us.
Well, I guess that's a
As
choice.
many as you can. Whoever's left, they'll beat the living piss out of each of you.
You can't talk to us like that.
Shut the fuck up. This is Tula. This is our mine. We don't leave unless we know why.
You're going to Chernobyl. Do you know what's happened there?
We dig up coal, not bodies.
The reactor fuel is going to sink into the ground and poison the water from Kiev to the Black Sea. All of it. Forever, they say. They want you to stop that from happening.
How are we supposed to do that?
They didn't tell me because I don't need to know. Do you need to know, or have you heard enough?
just tell them the truth. I guess this is kind of what I'm getting at. You know, there's not really a full choice in the sense that your other option is, you know, maybe getting shot at a bullet. But at the same time, I guess at the same time, oh my god. I'll talk more about that later.
Garcia. Garcia.
Oh, you should not be kissing me.
I told you not to touch it. It's not safe.
They touch you. It's safe for them, it's safe for
It's
me.
not safe for them. That's what you're not getting. They're just accepting their fate.
Where are the others?
They took them to a special room. They won't tell me where.
You open the curtains.
Our mausoleum.
You see St. Basil's?
Yeah. Yes, it's beautiful.
I told you. I told you I'd show you Moscow, didn't I?
Yes. Thank you. I'm not a nurse, Comrade Dyatlov.
That's
I'm a
the
nuclear
outlaw.
physicist.
I didn't even recognize him.
Comrade nuclear physicist. Unless you happen to have a butter and caviar sandwich on you, you can get the fuck out of my room.
Well, I didn't think he was going to be super helpful.